Kilcoyne. As folks know, the fair's going on, so Mr. Kilcoyne had to come down from the north down to 3A. And I will tell you, the traffic was unbelievable. It took me 45 minutes to get here, and I live in Kent Park. I came down Furnace. The traffic on 139 was backed up to almost Cabillions.
Very nicely.
Yep. So I had to get on the highway, go south, get off in Duxbury, and come up.
back this way.
That's why I live in Black Rock. We just go around.
That's it. That's it.
Well, it was really one way in a row for me.
That's it. That's it.
Sorry, I'm late. I didn't expect 45 minutes.
Okay, we're all set to begin. So on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I just want to welcome everyone here. Just sort of go over, how tonight sort of play out. So as he had said, it is a listening tour. It's for the selectmen just to hear what thoughts are on people's mind. It could be literally about anything. I'm sure everyone has like sort of a special item that they want to make some remarks about. It's not a debate with the selectman or the town administrator. If you have general questions that you want to ask, if we can answer them quickly, we'll do that. If it's a more prolonged, something that would need to be written, we have people taking notes, and we'll get back to everyone in writing on that. So it'll be just like town meeting. If you want to speak, if you raise your hand, I'm going to sort of act as the moderator. I'll recognize you. And because we are taking the meeting, just so everyone knows, we're taking the meeting. And while I recognize people, you just state your name and address, it's just like being a town meeting. And then the floor is yours for, we'll say 2 or 3 minutes, so that everyone has a fair time to say something. And so how we're going to start, we're going to go to the chair of the board. He's going to make an opening statement, and then Mr. Kilby will make an opening statement, and then we'll get right to the floor with questions. So with that, I will turn it over to Chairman Darcy.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you everyone who came out tonight to share your concerns. The goal of tonight's meeting was to be accessible and available to all of you and to address any concerns that you might have. Don't be afraid to come forward to bring something of concern up or to ask any questions, because we're not here to get in a debate with you guys, we're just here to listen. So if you guys could try to keep yourselves maybe 2 to 3 minutes, we can get to everyone who's here tonight, that would be great, and I'm just looking forward to civil discussion tonight, so thanks.
Yeah, this is something we've talked about, I think, for 1.5 years now or so. So I'm glad it's finally come to fruition. Maybe it looks like it's very successful, so we'll be able to do this maybe on multiple times per year, go to different parts of towns and things like that. As I said, it's listening, so we get a chance to speak to people. We don't get a chance to see people as often as we'd like. We certainly we welcome people to come to our meetings. They are riveting. And so with that, I'll turn it over to you, which is what this meeting's all about.
Perfect. Thank you. So who would like to go first? Yes, sir. You have the floor.
Great.
My
My name's Joe Armstrong. I live on 19 Reed Street in Brant Rock. I'm happy to have returned to my original hometown from our great neighbors in Situate. They got very expensive on their property taxes. But anyways, it's good to be back. And I've lived back here since 2018. The shore area is, of course, very important to us in this neighborhood in general. And we're aware and respect and appreciate the review boards, like the Conservation Commission, that has to go over applications for expansions of houses, new decks. Of course, we need that. A concern that I have is that they're applied in a way that uses precedent, standard protocols, procedures, so that there can't even be the perception that one property owner is being treated better than another when the situation is the same. In my case, I'm a real estate professional here helping my friend Frank Powell, who's a resident of 17 Oregon, and this is his wife here, Yanita Powell. He couldn't be here, he's in Manhattan. He asked if I could just keep, again, I can make it 60 seconds, that he currently has a review to put a modest expansion garage deck space on his existing property in 17 Oregon, which is protected from a seawall, was not on any known public maps as a dual area. And he's concerned that unlike 2 very similar neighbors who got approval for similar expansions and did not have to have soil testing to determine if it was a dune, his property is being asked to do that from Conservation Commission. And his environmental engineer has already presented a case, the board's had it, so I won't get into the details. But again, it seems that this particular case is not being treated like almost identical precedents where other property owners have very similar treatment. And I'd like to ask protocol-wise, is it appropriate, is there an appeal, or what's the procedure when there is that kind of a disagreement, respectful disagreement? And again, everyone understands and appreciates the service of the boards I've been on myself in the past communities. And there are going to be polite disagreements between neighbors, we all know that. But that's the issue. Standard approach, precedent-based approach to Conservation Commission applications. If you could address that in general, and again, we've got a more formal procedure in play. Thank you.
Sure. So I happen to be somewhat aware of it because I did talk to town council. It did make its way to town council. He's taking a look at it. I'll have to wait to see what town council says. I know that I'm sure he'll reach out to conservation and then we'll be getting back to the property owners.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Excellent. Okay. Who's next? Yes, ma'am.
Jane Higgins, 473 Ocean Street.
Okay.
Is there any plans to clean up the beach and seaweed after we have a storm?
Yes. The short answer is yes. There is a process. As folks know, there's a seaweed policy. The two options, the DPW will come down and rake it in place and bury it. That's probably the more viable option. They bury it, it just decays under the sand. The other option, they would have to remove it and take it somewhere to dry out. We don't have a lot of areas, but they're looking into it, so I hope they have it cleaned up in a relatively short period of time.
Michael, could you also address for them, so they understand that there are variances between the different
Thank you, that's a great point.
environmental zones and what we can and cannot do?
Mr. Kilcoyne is very familiar as former chair of conservation with the policy. So, folks that are on a beach that get seaweed, for the environmental laws, not ours, but state laws also, and the town of Marshfield, where it's relatively easy to go in, rake it, bury it, pack it down, cover it with sand. People that live in areas where there's cobble, you cannot remove it. You cannot remove it because the cobble creates habitat areas for shellfish. You can't disturb shellfish hatcheries, for a lack of a better word. So, if you live in those areas, it's much more challenging, and you'll have to rely more on nature to take it out. So they have to be, so, I can't speak because I've got to talk to the DPW how quickly, but we'll get it removed as quickly as possible. You're welcome. Yes?
Scott Dixon, 82 Ocean Street. My question really relates to the status of the repair of the seawall between approximately where the Fairview goes down to the campground. I know it's scheduled for work. There's actually large numbers written on the seawall if you go down to the beach and look up. But the numbers have been there for a while to the point that they're not paid. Roman numerals, maybe, no. So I was curious if anybody knew what the status of that would be.
It's on the DPW short list. It's one of the areas that received a lot of damage during those 2018 storms.
Right.
DPW sort of prioritizes. It wasn't in the first two sections, as you know, we've done the two big
Right.
sections of the Grant Rock seawall. It is on there to have some maintenance repair. It's not on the list right now. It can be totally revamped, but it will be fixed. I don't know the exact time frame, but I'll find out. We'll get back to you and let you know what the time
Thank you.
is. Yes?
Hi, Christina Roach, 8th Road. I have two questions. One is, are there any plans to do anything about the streets, the roads in Ocean Bluff that are kind of in disrepair? And also, in the wintertime, right after Labor Day, we take away the barrels along the beach,
Yes.
so that when people walk their dogs, they have nowhere to put their bags. And consequently, they're everywhere. They're on the beach, they're on the road. It's just like, it's a disgrace. And I can't understand why they take the barrels away, because so many people live there in the winter now. It's not like a handful of people anymore. It's pretty well populated. So those are my two questions.
Two good questions. Road repair, as you know, the selectmen do not have any control over DPW. They do get chapter 90 money, and the town gives them additional money to do street repairs. So they have an ongoing list. They sort of grade them. Rod Procacino and the engineers grade the roads. They're on a rotating list of when roads need to be done. I live in an area of town where my roads haven't been done in over 40 years now. They're pretty bad, so I know what it's like. Of course, it's interesting, the places that the DPW does go in and repair the roads, we immediately have a speeding problem after the road, because people are so, it's unintended consequences. So you have the cars, when you get potholes, the cars all slow down, because people don't want to ruin their suspensions, or tear off their undercarriage or muffler system and stuff like that. So, but the short answer is yes, your streets are, I can find out, I'll find out where your street is, sort of an approximation of when you
I'm thinking like Ocean Bluff, because Ocean Bluff, they did all those gas changeovers.
change up, yeah.
And, you get on the back road, you walk down there and you see the roads, especially in the winter time from like, the seaward, they'll come over, it'll be all just there's low spots. It's really just not attractive.
The streets that actually have work done on them, so like Surf and those other places up in that area, those streets, once the projects are completed, I know that they were doing water pipes, they were doing some forced mains, they were doing sewer. So depending upon when all that, the final phase then would be to redo the streets. They do, they call them like a permanent temporary type patch, so that they should withstand constant traffic. But the roads, those would be fixed wherever they do a big project like that. The final part of DPW projects would be to redo those streets. And your other question was, if you could just...
Well, the barrels actually.
Barrels, we'll happy to ask, we'll send a letter to Tom Reynolds and the DPW asking if the barrels can stay out over the winter. We'll see what they say.
Could Brant Rock be included in that? Because I think we face the same problem.
Excuse me, ma'am, could you state your name and address?
Certainly, my name is Mary Murphy. I live at 252 Ocean Street, and we've had the same problem in Brant Rock with our trash barrels. Back in 2016, we asked for 6, we got 3, and they're only in there from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And as you know, we have a lot of foot traffic.
Thank you. That is the normal, Ms. Murphy's correct about, normally DPW puts them out from like May to October or something, because that's the height of summer. Usually in the winter, they don't have them out there. They have to plow the roads, they can become a nuisance, but we're happy to pass on that information to the DPW,
Well,
for both of you.
Well, they're tucked in, like, I don't think in terms of plowing or anything, they're in a way, they're on the entrance ways into where the beach is. And I mean, the beach gets trashed. In the morning you walk through, you see all this trash everywhere. And then in the wintertime, people that live there, there's a lot of people that live there now, they have nowhere to put it. And why would they do that? What's the purpose of that? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor the point, because tonight's about,
Sure, sorry.
stating what's on your mind, but like I said to you, I don't have control of the DPW, neither does the board. DPW doesn't put the barrels there for the exact reason you're talking about. During the summer, they put them there, we have a lot of summer activity, people are on the beach, they get sandwiches at Brant Rock Supermarket or any of the other places. They eat, they bring, a 6-pack of Diet Pepsi or Coca-Cola, they gotta get rid of the cans, the barrels have to be there. In the summer, they have staff that's dedicated to emptying those barrels. In the winter, like anyone else, they don't have the manpower, because it's not summer, to be able to constantly empty those barrels. So that, I'm pretty sure that's what he's gonna say, but I didn't want to leave you without a quick answer. Let's see, this lady's had her hand up first.
Ellen Quinn, Billings Road. Crosswalks, crossing Ocean Street, going up to the numbered roads that have the beach access. I grew up down here, there was always crosswalks, now they're few and far between.
Are they not there, or have they
They're not
faded,
there.
or they're just not
When you
there?
said 11th Road, they're not there.
11th Road, okay, we'll look
I
into
don't
that.
know about the other streets, but I know 11th does
Okay.
not have it.
We'll look into that. They were in the process, but the board's been after me, and I've sent a couple of emails about making sure that they repainted all the crosswalks prior to summer. And now DPW is in the process of doing the crosswalks. around any of the schools, because we're getting close to school starters. But we'll look into that and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Sir, you had your idea?
Yeah, John Griffin, 12th Road. I actually just wanted to compliment the barrel thing, and just as a suggestion, just even extending the barrels. I don't think they would need to be picked up daily like they are during the winter, but at least once a week. And I think it would meet the need. So in terms of cost and opportunity, extend them longer, maybe 9 months, whatever the right thing is, but have them there so that they don't disappear. Otherwise, I live on that road. I live on a road that abuts the street, and I'm the one picking up the dog mess in front of my house because that's where they leave it. So I do think that it's a legitimate
Yeah.
request, and
No,
not
it is.
one that's because we plow. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got to really think about it, but thank you.
We don't think it's not a legitimate request, just that when it's a department that, any department that falls under me, I call them and tell them that's what they have to do. Unfortunately, I have to call the superintendent, then he has to talk to his board, and then they have to make a determination.
Okay. Does he have a meeting like this?
Does he?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware
Oh,
of.
okay.
No, I would say no. Mr. Murphy?
Eric Murphy, Ocean Street. Just a question, does the town have any policy or plans with regards to dilapidated buildings, condemned buildings that aren't being used, that are boarded up? And the reason why I ask is because I've spoken to the Board of Health several times. We're getting a lot of rats in Marshfield. I've probably done 10 jobs in the past 6 months. And it does have a lot to do with abandoned building being shut up, boarded up, non-used. You know, how long do they sit before we get someone in to tear it out?
I can't answer how long they sit, so a couple of things that come into play on that very quickly. If people are paying taxes, it makes it a little more challenging. It would require the building commissioner to go in there and to declare that building a public nuisance. If it was a public nuisance, then he can ask the town to tear it down, and lien the building for the cost of the property owner. But it would have to be in bad condition to tear it down. If you think there's a building and rats are living in it, my recommendation would be to notify the Board of Health, and then they can take appropriate action. They call you? Okay. Yes, sir.
Conrad on Farragut Road. Just had some questions about the beach nourishment project on Fieldston Beach and Sunrise. John, behind me here, this weekend, we both live on the wall. This weekend, we were going to go out because we know that some easements
Yes,
that the town has moved
I
ahead
saw that, yes.
with the other beach nourishment projects, but not in Fieldston and Sunrise.
Yes.
We're planning this weekend, myself and John, to go out and just go door to door and make people aware. And I've talked to Greg
Guimont, yeah, he told me.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, yes.
So I guess my only question here really is, like, in the coming months, does the town plan to do any outreach program to, like, because to make more of these people aware that this is going on, because, like, I suspect a lot of people live out of town year round, and they're probably just not even really aware that this is a project that's going on in town, and, you know, it's probably something that needs to happen.
No, well, so the first step is having citizens that are willing to help us. It is helpful because the neighbors know you better than they know us. Mr. Kilcoyne joined us last year. We were very fortunate. It took 2 years, but we got everyone on Bay Avenue to sign an easement to have the seawall done and to have beach nourishment. So to have beach nourishment, the federal government requires that the whole street, the whole area you're doing, every single person
100%.
needs to sign, 100%. That's a federal, not a state, not a town. It's one of those, so that's great. Once you go out, we'll door to door. Greg Guimont and myself and anyone else, we'll go door to door with the forms, have them sign it. I'm a notary, we notarize them right away, and the sooner we can get that done, the better. It puts us in line to be able to bring the sand in from projects and put it on those beaches and do the beach nourishment. But it's always, we had a gentleman that came forward, just like you and the other gentleman here, and said, hey, I want to help. What do you need? I'm the technical, I'm the mayor of the street. Perfect, that is wonderful. I know your name. Okay, that's what we need, absolutely. Once you complete that, if you notify Greg, then we'll get out in the neighborhood and go door to door. We'll probably ask you guys to join us on a Saturday morning. We don't get too early because we want usually at 10, do it like 10 to 12. We go door to door, people sort of by then know we're coming. As you talk to people, you tell them in the next few weeks, we'll get out there. I'm happy to do that and help.
Mike, can I add something to that?
Yes, Mr. Kilby.
Yeah, so it gets kind of complicated with seawalls. They're a major part of our infrastructure expense for the next, probably decade, Mike?
Yes.
They can chew up a lot of the capital budget for the entire town to protect the seawalls around it. Yeah. Beach nourishment is a part of that, although it can go away as fast as it's put down and it's extremely expensive. Prime Minister is correct. If you have one person that holds out, then we don't have access. I'm very supportive of this. I was on the Conservation Commission prior. I understood the challenges there. One of the things for the town is that it costs a lot of money to do this, and we bear a portion of that expense. Once we have the sign-off and we already have a nourishment done, then our expense dramatically goes down, and the government then will take over, the federal government, and so the cost of the town dramatically goes down. So it's kind of a one, and then your costs even go down even more. But if you don't do that one, then you can lose your beach, and then the seawall gets undermined. So it's a huge process with sea rise coming. So I would encourage, Michael and I and the team went out to Bay Ave last year, Mike.
Yes.
And we did have, the best is local neighbors, is because you know them, you can talk to them, implore them. I don't want to go and make it seem like I'm trying to coerce someone to do something on their private property. It's their land. But neighbors, can get together, you have that community feel, and you can say, we need to pitch in to get this done, so it's going to protect all the houses.
What do you need approval on?
Excuse me?
What do you need approval from them for?
It's an easement, correct, Michael?
That is correct.
It's an easement so that we can bring the trucks down on the beach.
I thought the easement was more to do with the right of the public to access the beach.
Well,
Those are separate easements. Those are
it's
separate
separate
things.
easements.
Those are separate things.
This is an easement for the town.
To be able to
So
nourish.
the town has to have it, it's a requirement of the federal government, in order to be able to use any sand to do beach nourishment, you have to have the easement.
And the easement is because the folks that are on the wall are local, are in front of the wall, own that beach? Like, I'm not, it's like.
No, yeah, I don't wanna get into, yeah, I'm gonna.
That's like 1640.
Yeah, so just, so these
Do I own the
say,
wall or do I own the slow tide? Low tide. No, I'm joking.
yeah, but it's really to give easement. Some people, easement's an easement. An easement means that you don't own the land, but you have the right to traverse the land. So in order to do the beach nourishment, I know Bay Avenue better, only because I've spent, not that I live there, I live in Kent Park, but I spent so many times going door to door and being there for storms. When I was a selectman, we had the first breach of the seawall, so I know that area. You have to go to the two farthest ends to be able to come in and get on the beach. So in order to do that, when you add beach nourishment, they'll dump it in one area, and then the tractor has to go down, dump it, the bucket truck, spread it, so it affects everyone. That's why you need the easement.
Right, could I book on that for you? So just
Yes,
so we can
thank
maybe bring it close to that one. The long and the short of it all is we have to have 100% signatures.
Yeah.
Go back to 1640 beach right access is like, it's a rabbit hole, it's a tough one. But that's what it comes down to, we need 100%, and we want to do it, right, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, but it's up to the neighbors to be able to help us out.
Okay.
Thank you. Ma'am, yes.
Are you having,
If you could just state your name and address, please?
Yes, Catherine Armstrong, Little Slane. I have my own separate, but regarding this discussion, is there going to be a presentation to the town of Marshfield residents from coastal management on the federal level regarding how long this lasts? Some statistics suggest that as fast as you put it down, Mother Nature takes it out. It lasts 1 to 5 years. After the first year, it's about 60% effective, and every year thereafter. This is just important information for people to sign and know they're signing. Has that presentation been made available in a open forum to the town residents?
Yes, a number of times.
A number of
You may
times,
have missed
okay.
them, but we hire Woods Hole Oceanographic. and they are a consultant, they have been the consultant for at least the last half a dozen years. And they advise us, they've had a number of public hearings. We've had them in on hazard mitigation, coastal management, seawalls, repairs, sand nourishment, beach nourishment, because even if you have a new seawall, I know it sounds weird, but as the chairman mentioned, and as Mr. Kilcoyne mentioned, you have to continually add sand so you're not undermining the seawall. So we do have them, we've had a number of them at the library, and we've had 2 of them at the senior center.
We just had one, right now?
We just had, yeah.
It's called the MVP program, right?
That's correct.
And we've got, I think, the final report coming in the next maybe 60 days, am I?
Couple of months, yeah.
Yeah, no, couple of months, there'll be a final report coming on that. I encourage everyone to, just watch the website, because we do post these, and it's called the MVP program. And we do others. It's been going on now for what, like a year or 2?
3 years.
3 years. So it's a pretty comprehensive study, and it's looking at sea rise and all these things you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, Frank, separately, if I may.
Yes.
The posting suggested town government, but also select board. So is this forum, are you taking questions for town government in general?
Yes, so it's really, it's questions or for you to tell the board what's on your mind.
Okay, so I have a question, and that would be, if any board in town makes determinations, becomes a document, what is a reasonable expectation that there is follow-up or oversight that these actionable items are actually happening or being addressed?
Well, so under the open meeting law, any public meeting where a vote is taken and a policy is adopted or incurred, you can follow the minutes of those meetings, planning, zoning, conservation, DPW, because they're involved in seawall, beach nourishment and all that, including the selectmen. You just follow all those individual boards and committee minutes, and they will show you, in any meeting where they discuss a document, those documents, when they are discussed, are also a public record, and you can have copies of those. There's no secrets.
Yeah, that part I understand, but my question is as far as accountability from town government, overseeing, say, what decisions are from any given meeting, whether it's selectmen or zoning board. You make some determinations, or there are orders of conditions, or whatever the case may be. What is the accountability piece on the town government end without having to?
Are you referring to like enforcement?
I am.
Environment, so conservation, planning, and zoning do enforcement. Conservation administrator does the enforcing. Planning department, it's the town planner, the assistant planner. What was the other one I said? Planning.
So,
Board of Health also, they can issue fines, and so there are people that go out and do if there's a policy that's violated.
is the onus on the citizen to bring it back to your attention that this is what you said, that this isn't what's happening?
Yes, yeah, I would do that. Yes.
Yeah, so when you go to any of these commissions or boards, as a general rule, if you have a finding, and you may have orders of conditions, you may not. And you were referring specifically to order of conditions, which basically means, okay, you've got your approval, here's how you go about doing it. It's pretty straightforward stuff. To close that out, so there's a lien that's put on someone's property, right, by the town. So you kind of talk about accountability to the citizens to fulfill their role. So there's a lien put on the property, and they have to get a certificate of compliance. And that basically, then you call out as the property owner, my house is done, my deck is built, right? And the building commissioner will go back out, electrical, whatever it will be, and they'd say, okay, yeah, it's done, it's built correctly, and they have a sign off, and then you can go down to what's called Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, and then you file that, and then the lien comes off your property. When we're at conservation, we have a lot of these. There's a lot of historical stuff that's out there, as you can imagine. And we're not looking to track people down. But we had, at least on a monthly basis, maybe even more often, would have one person coming to our houses being sold. And there was work done on that house in the 70s. And there's not even, almost a paper trail back in the 70s. And they did not file on it at the Registry of Deeds, so they can't sell their house. So at the end, the final accountability is that, but usually it is the certificate of compliance. Does that answer your question?
It does not, but I think.
It does not, okay.
If
Give it a
not,
shot.
What's a reasonable amount of time if you communicate by email to the town for a reply?
It depends on how complex your question is.
Mhm.
But I would say 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I thank the young lady for bringing this topic up, because it's what I'm thinking of, something I'm thinking of to tie into all this. I'm Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. A couple of specific things, and then to tie into what was just talked about. I've noticed a lot more panhandling going on, especially in the downtown area. I hope you guys are aware of that. I don't know where it's coming from, how it's happening. Another specific issue, I've heard some stories about why it's happening, how it's happening, but I wouldn't want to just announce them. Another specific issue at Billings Road, Wilson Road, on Plymouth Avenue. The DPW has been aware of this for many years. I've been down there, I've showed them. These are the conduits that are blocked. This is why we're having drainage problems down there. They're aware of where the conduits are or were previously located that have been destroyed. I don't know why there's been no action whatsoever on that problem down there. If you're in that, going down Plymouth Ave after any rainstorm or after any big snow melt, it's horrible. Which leads me to the next thing. Why is
If
that?
I could just interrupt, so you're talking like the catch basins aren't being cleaned, Mr. Pasevich?
The catch basins are clear, Jeremy, but it's the conduits under the road that are conveying the water over to the Bass Creek. Those are broken and blocked.
Okay.
And I've pointed them out to the town engineer and other people, and nothing happens. But why is that happening? Well, partly because, and I want the selectmen to please comment on. Years ago when I was fighting a 40B, people would say to me, "Oh, you've got your little Shangri-La, your little piece of green, and you just don't want other people to live in that nice area." And now I wonder, what is the nice area? I've got jets flying over my house. I've got gentrification going on through this area, through this neighborhood. I've got tiny lots being overdeveloped. I've got the Conservation Commission not enforcing the rules in terms of just letting people build driveways, impermeable surfaces. I've got the zoning board handing out special permits and variances like candy, and people like just recently somebody wants to build a big house on a little tiny lot and they get a variance and they're not entitled to it, but they get them anyway. So I know we have a former Concom member here. I'm sorry we don't have a former ZBA member here, but to the selectmen, how do you pick the people that go on these commissions and these boards? Like the lady is saying, there should be some accountability. We vote in zoning laws, we vote in bylaws to protect the environment, and then Concom and the ZBA sort of kind of do their own thing, and we don't get accountability. This neighborhood, it was laid out years ago after the big fire in 1941. There's a lot of non-conforming structures and boundaries that are tight and everything like that. But what's the solution? To start enforcing the zoning and conservation laws? Or to just say, okay, you can build a McMansion on every lot? Like I said, what am I protecting now? I've got my little piece. What am I protecting? And how do the selectmen, your selectmen, you divvy up liaisons to all these boards and committees. I don't know what the gentleman here, what liaisons they have. But how do you look at what the ZBA or the Concom is doing, or any other, or the planning board, or the Board of Health, which grants variances on septic systems next to other people's wells, which is crazy. The town has a law, keep septic systems 200 feet away from a private well. And they give variances so they can put a septic system within 100 feet of a well. I didn't vote for those rules at town meeting. I voted for rules to protect the environment and protect zoning and protect the character of my neighborhood. And it's not getting done. So what do the selectmen think about that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. First, Joe, thank you for the question. So I'll address all the items you brought up in turn. With respect to the panhandling, that is becoming a problem, and we have received multiple complaints about that, and I don't like it at all. I'm in total agreement with you. The problem with that one is the state Supreme Court in Massachusetts has specifically ruled on the right to panhandle. So as much as we would like to enforce that, we are legally barred from doing so. And again, that comes from a state Supreme Court ruling, so I definitely share your pain and agony and frustration with that one. With respect to who serves on the town boards, you know, we are limited by the pool of applicants, and we do really need more good people to apply to our town boards. We have over 20 vacancies right now. So if there's anyone in the room tonight who is interested in volunteering to serve on a town board, you are more than encouraged to apply. And again, we can only appoint folks who fill out the paperwork and move forward with an application. So if you're really passionate about conservation, it would be great to have your background knowledge and for you to submit an application to be on conservation. Again, we have over 20 vacancies right now. Typically, when we do make changes on boards, it occurs over time. Typically, if there's a vacancy, we try to fill it, or if someone comes up for reappointment, that seems to be the most common point at which to make changes, and that has occurred the last couple of years. With respect to what's going on the different town boards, I agree with you that the buck does stop with us. You know, if the boards that we appoint are not behaving in a way that they should be, you're totally correct that we should be held accountable by the voters for the boards that we appoint. So we do appoint ZBA, we do appoint conservation, recreation, so there's several boards that we do appoint. And just from an educational perspective, for a lot of folks don't know this, I know that you're aware of this, Joe. So of all the elected town boards, right, Board of Selectmen is independently elected, the Board of Health, the Board of Public Works, the Planning Board, and the Board of Assessors. Those are all, separately elected boards. So for to a question earlier about, you know, is this a select board hearing or a town government hearing? It's definitely a town government hearing. And if you have a concern, how we can help is we know the exact person to phone and call. So even if something's not under our direct control, please still share your concern with us because we know the person to reach out to. I can't guarantee that we can make them do anything, but we know who the best point of contact is. So did that answer your question, Joe, or did you have anything?
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But I would encourage you to look at the zoning board, whoever your liaison is, for example, and just ask them, could you give us a report? How many variances have you granted this year? Something along that line. Again, I'm seeing spaces getting more crowded around here. You just drive around, look at the new construction. Look at the buildings going up, getting bigger, you know. Get a record of the permits and the variances that they're handing out. You know, to me, it's always been a conflict. Maybe this is an aside. You know, what you own is your own. You can do what you want with it, you know. But at the same time, we vote collectively at town meeting for rules and laws, you know, to protect the character of the neighborhood, to make it safe to live near the ocean, et cetera, you know. You may be aware of all the new flood regulations that are coming into play. People gripe and complain about those things, but there's a reason, there's a logic behind it.
Right.
You know, and there's a logic behind maintaining a little green space around here and not letting variances get handed out the way they're getting handed out right now. So, I mean, I don't know how you can check on that, how you can gauge that, but I appreciate you paying attention, you know, to that, because I've seen you in action. So, you know, but you basically answered it. But I also want to know how I'm going to get the conduits unplugged down and handed that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do, so before we go to the next question, I want to give Jim a chance to speak on that topic. And then also, Joe, I'll get back to you. We will get you a historical record in terms of number of variances, and we'll get that to you. So I'm sure we have your info, but if we don't, we have Beth here taking notes for us. So we'll get you the exact number of variances that have been going out and compare that to how the town's, you know, done that historically. So I'll let Jim speak on some of your questions, Joe, and then we'll turn back to you, Mr. Armstrong.
I think Mr. Savage brings up a lot of good points. I personally believe that citizen advocates play an extremely important role within towns. It's not always easy to be a citizen advocate. I think it's just as difficult sometimes to be a citizen advocate as it is to go through the process to stand here and sit in this chair. They both play a role. We have a chronic problem in this town, and it's a wonderful town, but we have a chronic problem in this town of people not volunteering to our boards, commissions. And it's been going on for a while. I think I'm kind of a broken record. I think, Michael, you'll agree. At any chance I have at select board meetings, I always announce how many openings we have. A lot of times I announce the boards that we have. I tell them that it is a nice thing to volunteer to try to do stuff for your town. So we're a little, I don't know the right words, David, but Amber, you try to find people, encourage people that you know, but our circle of friends are probably like your circle of friends. They're not hundreds of people. And you try to encourage people, say, hey, could you want me to serve on rec committee, or would you want to serve on Concom or planning or whatever? And the answer lots of times that I get is no. So we kind of rely on people coming and volunteering, right, Michael?
That's correct.
And we very rarely turn someone down if we feel they're a qualified citizen. We like I personally like diversity of view and perspectives on commissions. I don't like to see 700 votes all the time. I like discussion and votes. Stephen, I think will tell you that I love discussion and votes on the select board. It's important for that. So Joe, I agree with you on that. And I think one thing I discussed with Michael, maybe this is something we could do, and I don't know if you think it's a good idea or bad. I talked about maybe we could have, you've heard of job fairs where, people go to colleges and this and that. And they just sit there and they talk to people going by, students going by, and they try to tell them about the openings they have at their work. So I was talking to Michael and the chair, and I said, maybe we could have like a board commission fair. We could set it up a table somewhere at Shaw's or something like this. We could sit there, we could talk to people and try to encourage people as they go by and let them know there are openings, a chance to serve the town. The final thing, Joe, because I'll leave that DPW stuff out because I know you know the avenue on that one. I agree with the chair. We have a responsibility for the boards and commissions that we appoint. And at the same time, I personally believe that they need to have the flexibility to be a quasi-judicial board, which they are. They're legally quasi-judicial. They shouldn't be setting precedents. They should be looking at every case individually. And so I personally don't like to get a lot of what I would say the political arm, the executive arm of government into commission and board decisions. I think it's better you allow the citizens of the town to make those decisions. That doesn't mean we don't have oversight. And I think your point, Mr. Savage, is a good one, that we could probably, not could, let me rephrase, that's a qualifier. That maybe, that's a qualifier, we should, how's that? Maybe work with you, Michael,
Yes.
to come up with some matrices, performance matrices, that are easily checked off, that would get back maybe to accountability and some things that Mr. Savage is addressing. Stephen, any thoughts on that? Or?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, and maybe we could do a follow-up to this meeting and have a hearing with all of our elected boards, so that when Eric mentions that he's brought something to the attention of the Board of Health, and we refer Eric back to the Board of Health, maybe we could all get together and communicate. So Eric, if you wanted to give us the dilapidated properties that you're concerned about, we can certainly follow up on that. Eric? If you wanted to just give us some of those properties that you're concerned about, the dilapidated properties, we can certainly follow up on that, because I know you've been trying. But if you guys think tonight has gone well or is going well, maybe we could have a larger listening tour with all of our colleagues and fellow elected boards, so that if you have a question, you can maybe increase the odds you get an answer on the spot, or we'll have better coordination. And we're here to get ideas from you guys too. If you think it would be better to have maybe a little more consolidation, and exactly where the buck stops instead of maybe 5 different boards, maybe a lower number, that would be great too. So again, just keep the questions coming, the concerns and ideas, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So first, Mr. Armstrong, you had a hand up earlier, and then we'll go back to your.
Thank you. It's a follow-up on one of Joe, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name, but Joe's questions about the Panhandle. Very disturbing to see that in our downtown areas. I can tell you as a former citizen of Situate, It's not happening there, it's not happening in Duxbury, and these panhandlers for some reason think they can get away with it in our beautiful town, right? I understand the constitutional issues. I would suggest, however, that one way to approach it is a noise ordinance, no amplification without a permit for public performances of any kind. It's done in Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. They have precedents, bylaws that have passed through the state. I researched it already. Mike and I had a wonderful discussion about it. I want to say I was very impressed. I did the tour of various boards. I know this young lady, so. And I determined, in fact, Nancy in zoning gave me a copy of the existing decibel limit ordinance. And it seems to me it's not specific enough to this. And then I jump online and I just typed in anti-noise ordinances in Massachusetts, and I found a couple of good examples. Martha's Vineyard, I think, or Nantucket. I'm going to put some research together and get back on this. But I think the idea of drafting a specific ordinance, then if they want to do this, and I don't think it's good, we all agree with that, panhandling is bad, especially in a town that's filled with health wanted signs for $25 an hour. Anyone who can walk in this town can get gainful employment. So it's fraudulent, and my belief is I see these kind little old ladies walking out of the Marshalls and giving that particular person $20 bills, and that person is doing it because they make more money than working an honest living like everyone else in town. And that's my opinion. And there are social service agencies in town. There are appropriate venues to help one of our fellow citizens who may be in need. And it's not good for their family, for their children, for anyone to see dad begging on the sidewalk, I can tell you that. So to take away the amplifications, I think is a way to address it. I went into Marshall's, one of our great local merchants, to try to buy something, and I'm hearing this loud music, and worse, it's offensive as a real musician, maybe he's a fake musician. He's not playing that violin, he's got tracks on. So that's not a legal piece, but come on. We can't have this in this town, this is not downtown Boston. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, totally, no, thank you, Joe, that's a good point, and we could definitely check with our town council too, just in case there's something that we're not thinking of from a legal minded perspective, but that's a really good point.
Could I present something, or leave a package of
Yeah,
this
sure.
ordinance?
That's
Just
perfect.
for some thoughts. And where would I leave it? Selections
Can you
or?
bring it right in?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
Oh, you don't have, okay, you can bring it
I
back.
said, I'm gonna put it together a little survey. This town does this town does that.
Just drop it by to me.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, second floor town hall, go right up the stairs, and we're the first office on the right.
Very good, thank you.
And to your point, there was probably a help wanted sign in the window of that Marshalls or something.
Absolutely, right there.
And this reminds me, Joe, I did forget to answer one of your questions on the 40B. In the two developments, one that's finished and one that's kind of on the docket right now. That's a great question. That one is tricky because, so the state, if your community is under the state's 10% target for affordable housing, it increases the likelihood that you're going to get a 40B, and it really restricts our ability in terms of how we want to tackle that. I know that we'll be close, and what we're doing right now is the second development that they're calling Mill Creek. We're trying to shape it as much as we can, and we just discussed this at our most recent meeting this past Monday, where the Mill Creek development, the second one, they're trying to make it higher density, where they're trying to propose more units on less land, essentially. So that's something we're trying to shape it to point out that it's a little absurd that they're going for even greater density the second go around. So we are trying to shape that as best we can, and that's a mechanism that we can try to use the ZBA for. But it is really hard if you're under the 10%. It does increase the likelihood of getting a 40B, and if you're at or above the 10%, it doesn't preclude it entirely, but the likelihood does go down. And you could probably explain that more articulately than I can, Michael, but that's it in a nutshell.
It's, if I may, yeah, you don't have to explain it. I was involved in the two statewide efforts to reform 40B.
Yep.
So I know what the deal is. But what I'm saying is that the concern now being expressed about Mill Creek, and I've been going to some of the hearings, I've raised some points which have now been adopted, is that you know, work hard, yeah, to make sure that you've got a quality place for people to live in a place like Mill Creek. I know I fought the Beacon 40B, and now people that live there say, boy, what a nice place to live, you know, because they left some space for nature and they reduced the number of units and all that kind of stuff, you know. But the same concern for the quality of life for people, whoever happens to find themselves in a development like that, should apply for this neighborhood, you know. Preserve this neighborhood. Don't let it gentrify. Don't let it turn into a bunch of McMansions, you know.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thanks.
Going to Joe's left.
However, just a little lane. I just have two really quick, easy questions. First of all, did the town of Marshfield make any statements to Holtec about dumping the waste from the nuclear plant into Cape Cod Bay?
We did, yes.
And what was the stand?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
We were opposed. The selectmen had two different discussions. I went down to the hearing, expressed my concern with Senator Markey. We followed up with letters to Holtec and to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which is really the people with the power to say no. At that public hearing, the president and owner of Holtec said that he would not, of course he contradicted himself, but he did say at the meeting he wouldn't dump the water unless that was the only option left to him if he got everything else done. But all the cities and towns around here have sent letters and are working very actively to make sure that that water doesn't go in there. You know, now he's claiming he's gonna have it tested by independent laboratories and, you know, it's gonna prove out what he says that it's safe. But we're, the town of Marshfield, Board of Selectmen are on record being opposed to dumping.
The second question is Marshfield in the MBTA assessment area? If we are, how much do we pay and do we get any service?
So, we're what they,
Yeah.
we're a feeder community. So what does that mean? So feeder community is a community where our residents go somewhere else to gain access to the tea.
Well, that's
So-
why the other town is not certified to tea.
Right, so we pay, so for instance, to be able to do that, our assessment's like $180,000 a year. It's part of what we pay into the state. That $180,000 a year, that covers for our folks going to Greenbush. At one time, we had the Plymouth and Brockton bus, which used to do two trips to Boston in the morning, 2 trips from Boston back
But
to
then
Marshfield.
right?
That wasn't working out, and we moved to using that money. There was a state transportation reform back in 2007, 2008. And if you were a feeder community and you wanted to broaden the public transportation, you could take your money and invest it in a private transportation company, and that's how we got into GATRA. And when we got into GATRA in 2009 and 10, you know, you would be able to use GATRA here. If you wanted to then somehow drive to Duxbury and go to Kingston, you could pick up GATRA there. Now you can go from Quincy to Plymouth on GATRA. So GATRA, you see the buses all the time, they stop, they take. So we're actually getting more now for our money than we were in years past. Even, you know, we'd like to see, and the selectmen mention this all the time, in fact, in the selectmen's letter on Mill Creek, they requested that Mill Creek have a somewhat of a shelter and that they look into providing some transportation for not only their residents at Mill Creek, but the Madison, to get people to and from those developments, to and from Greenbush. So we'll see what happens.
Where they're now building gazillions of apartments and parking lot because of the.
They are, they're getting into that parking lot, they're taking advantage of the state money, yeah, that's true. Yes. Sir.
I was curious, I was curious about the boulders that the contractor left on Grant Rock Beach, why he didn't take them with him.
Say
The
that
Grant
again?
Rocks, these are boulders.
Boulders?
That he used to build the wall on the outside of the seawall, so he could keep the ocean out there while they did the digging. And when he moved on, he left a lot of the boulders here. You went out across the land, you can look the whole lake. There's not a boulder on that whole beach.
We'll find out,
They got the stairs that go up to the beach, then down to the beach. You can't get on the beach because of the platform that's down here and all the boulders. That's it.
Okay, Well, again,
I don't understand who signed off on that check to say that the job was finished.
Yeah,
If a contractor left that rubbish in my house, I wouldn't have gave him a check,
that's correct.
you know, and
Yeah.
that's what he did, you know?
We'll check.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Sir, can you just a little louder say your address so we can get it for the record?
22 Plymouth Ave.
22 Plymouth Ave. And your,
Bob McHugh, MCCU.
okay, good, we'll get back to you. I don't have an answer, but I will ask the DPW.
I've been on that beach for 54 years, and they ruined it when they built that seawall.
Sure.
You know, and the stairs go nowhere. You spent all that money for cement stairs, a mat that goes up to the stairs. You get on the stairs, you can't go. And you got 2 lifeguards sitting up there, you pay it, and there's no one on the beach.
Okay.
You know, so I wish you would look into that.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Patricia McHugh, 22 Plymouth. I don't understand, I know they say the environmentally, the beach is eroding and all, but it was a beautiful beach, a huge, beautiful sandy beach when we came in. Now, you can't sit on it, there's no place to sit. And I understand they can't remove, they said they can't remove the rocks. Wouldn't they plow them someplace so that there is a beach there? Because if black guys are sitting there, there's nobody on the beach. And if we live in that neighborhood like we do across the street, we have to get a parking sticker now to go to Green Harbor or to Brixton, when the beach is right there.
Right.
And all those people in those houses there don't go on the beach.
We'll find out. I don't have any answer for
A
you.
lot of the rocks on the beach, they used to build their road to work on it.
Right.
They used boulders to hold their dike on the ocean.
And they brought these
And
in.
they
Right,
used
brought
the
them in.
bolts,
Dump
the other rocks and stuff, so they could drive their equipment.
Now, are they against the sea wall or are they in the middle of the beach?
They're just scattered on the beach in front there. Like I said, he picked one up to see if it would fit here, and then put that one back, take this one up, put it here. And as he went along, even along Ocean Street, he did the same thing when he worked in that part.
We'll find out. I just know the sea walls.
Marshfield, everybody comes here for the
Yeah.
beaches and stuff.
If you, in some of the places where there's, the sea walls, they do have cobble in front of them, those big chunks of rock.
Yes.
But we'll find out.
But they even plow the beach so you could sit on it. You know what I mean?
That's all.
The smaller rocks, it's
Get
just
rid
the
of the
whole
smaller
beach is rocks.
There's so many state, there's so many state and federal requirements.
Well,
Why
they
you
put them
stop
there,
the
the state
easement.
don't want you to take the rocks off the
Yeah.
beach, Mother Nature. like.
Yeah, let's see what we can
You
do.
put them there, that's your rubbish, you should get them out of there.
Yeah,
That's the difference.
we'll find out, and we'll get back to you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Laura Broderick, 12th Road. I'm sure you've probably seen things on social media or whatever. I'm concerned about the emergency response in town for the fire department or whatever. I see all kinds of ambulance from other towns coming. Is that affecting the revenue that we get?
No, where our revenue is fine. We provide service, so you may see Duxbury ambulance here, you may see a Pembroke ambulance. You know, our ambulances could be in Duxbury, they could be.
How
so we
many
provide-
ambulances do we have?
We have 2 full-time ambulances that we use right now.
But how many do we have?
We have 3.
You only have 3?
Well, we have ones in reserve that we keep for parts that we don't necessarily use.
So we're not using
Well, it's
3 of
every
them?
department's based on their budget. Everyone has to live within their budget. Our response time, you can check with the chief. Our
Oh,
response
no, I'm
time
not
is
saying that. I'm just
fantastic.
saying if we have 3 ambulances, why aren't we using them?
It's a budgetary matter, ma'am. Everyone has to live in their budget.
So now that's affecting the residents though, for their
Well, but
safety.
it's-
I
Yeah,
can take it to
Right.
question, Michael.
Is
I mean,
it?
historically, the town has always run 2 ambulances. During COVID, we ran 3 because the call volume was so high.
That's not true.
Okay, well, we'll get to you, Nate. So to address your question,
Yeah,
we ran 3 during COVID and we had federal reimbursement. But historically, the town has run 2 ambulances. And it's that there is revenue from the ambulance service, but we lose money running the ambulance service because it's a public service that we provide. So we run it so that we bleed, but we don't hemorrhage. So while there is revenue that is generated from the ambulance service, overall it's net negative because it's a public service that we provide to our residents.
right. So I guess my point is, the staffing in the fire department, is that the same as it has been or it's not? Because my understanding it's not the same, that they've been cut back. And I just don't understand why they would be cut back.
Okay, there's been no cuts. So, thanks to the Board of Selectmen, there's been no layoffs. Every city and town around us, fire or lay people off, we didn't have to do either. We maintain the same level. The fire department's budget is very rich. they're paid well, they have all the necessary equipment that they need. We're running the 2 ambulance. If there was a, some kind of prolonged fire or something, we needed to, we have the means to bring extra staff in. But normally, we don't bring the staff in because fire, just like police, they have to manage their overtime budget.
And if there's, like, let's say 3rd and 4th of July weekend, we would obviously run 3, but it's not something that we do every single day. So when we know there's going to be an event or a time of year where you're going to see the higher call volume, we run 3. We just don't do it every single
Could
day.
you provide us the cost of what it would mean to the town for the one additional one? My sister-in-law literally had a heart attack on the beach, seizure, and the 2 were out, and the one came from Duxbury, which took 22 minutes to get here. And luckily she's fine, but if you've got 3, that's silly. Like, why are we not using it? What would the cost be for the town? I think we should know that, because I don't think most people would realize. I mean, I think I'd vote that in a heartbeat. Like, why would you not have 3 working ambulances if we have 3 active to be able to service the town? That would be my thought, but
Yeah, we could break that
We'll get you
down.
those numbers.
I'd love to know how much that, yeah.
We'll get your numbers.
And then is that going to the fire department to, like, so you cover that board, that department? You represent the fire?
I'm the town administrator.
Okay.
I work for the selectmen, we do the
So-
budget. So that you wanna know where the ambulance revenue is revenue for the town.
Yeah.
Comes into the general fund,
Goes into
and
the
that's how we provide police protection.
Yep.
That's how we pay for the
Thank you.
schools,
Yep.
everything, all revenues go into a central pot.
Yep.
And then everything's distributed out to the
Yeah.
departments.
So to follow up on that, who am I following up with?
When you have your question, we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Question? Yes.
She's been waiting to
Mary.
ask, so I'll take a pass on that.
Okay.
Thank you. I was waiting to ask after
Ms.
I had
Murphy.
you.
Yeah.
And actually, I wanted to speak after the gentleman on Hartford, talking about beach nourishment. So I have a couple of questions that I've been waiting for. Again, my name is Mary Murphy at 252 Ocean Street. So I was actually on those calls that were talking about beach nourishment, and Grant Rock was actually left off the list by Ocean Bluff, or what is it, what is the team? that-
Woods
Woods Hole, correct. Saying that the material that was on Grant Rock Beach was all rocks, as Mr. McHugh was talking about. Now, if you go to Grant Rock Beach now, you do still see the rocks, but there is some sand. So my question is, a couple of things. One is, can we get the jetty fixed? Because it's underwater at high tide. I feel as though that would provide a little bit of sand. Number 2, could the citizens get together and perhaps put sand there? 3, could we work with the harbor master? Because I know right now, him and other people, they dump sand off of Grand Harbor. Why can't it come and be dumped along here, along Ocean Bluff and Grant Rock? I guess I don't understand why that is. That's one of my questions, so I'll let you respond to that.
Okay, so I'll quickly do that. So first off, you can't put anything on the beach unless you go through the state permitting process, whether a citizen does it or government does it. And as you heard from the easement, you'd have to go through the very similar project. You would have to get easements to get access to it, even on the ocean side of it. If you don't mind, just you could repeat the questions.
Sure, and I know some of these things are not, the jetty.
The jetty is, so that's okay. So Federal 107, so that is in the process. We're in the queue by the federal government to realign the jetty.
Well, when you talk to the harbor master, he tells me that the Grant Rock jetty is not a jetty, it's a groin. So my question to you is, what do you deem
The groins, yeah, so.
the jetty,
so-
in Grant Rock, which has been deemed a jetty for a long time?
So just so folks know, so you're talking about the groin.
I'm talking about the jetty off of Grant Rock Beach.
Okay, so
That
there's
people
only
fish on.
one jetty, that's the one that comes out of the main. Mr. Lynch could probably talk better, but the jetty coming out of there, one side's longer than the other.
I
don't
guess
know
I would
which
ask
one.
if by a show of hands in this room, how many people think of that as the Grant Rock jetty? It's very historical, we have postcards that go
So
way
that's
back.
the one, so I just wanna make sure the one that
It
goes
goes out to
out.
the big rock.
No, it goes out to the big rock, yeah, people fish off of it.
No, I'm talking about the jetty out of Green.
I understand that, we're talking
Yeah.
about the Grant Rock jetty.
We'll have to get, I don't have any answer on the groins. We'll
Again, we look at
check.
that as a jetty, I just wanna say.
Okay,
So I think,
What's the third
Mr.
question?
McHugh, to answer your question, I think the stones on the beach, I think that's a challenge, and I think we've heard that in the past. A couple of other questions that I have is, I believe that, I know, that you guys don't have a lot of control over the DPW and what they do. I do hope that you're supportive, as is everyone else in this room, for the sidewalks. We're really looking to finish phase 1 and phase 2 of the Esplanade. Phase 2 and phase 3. Phase 1 was that green area where we have the benches and the flagpole. Phase 2 and 3 was put in front of the, I guess, the town about 20 years ago. There's always been other things that have come in front of it. I think what we're finding now is we need sidewalks. We have a lot of pedestrians. I know I walk, I'm in Grant Rock, but I walk all the way down to Hartford and back, or I walk around Green Harbor. We just have a lot of people walking. We need safety, we need signs, right? And I do believe that the selectmen are gonna approve that in the design for Grant Rock at the October meeting. I also wanted to ask a couple of other questions to the select board. One is, I've been told that the town of Marshfield is being broken into historic sections, and that is going to be something that potentially could be coming forward. And I'm just wondering, what does that do to Grant Rock? Like, would we have restrictions then if we were considered historic? Is that something that's been talked about or being worked on? And do you know anything about it?
I don't know a thing about it, Ms. Murphy, but we will ask the Historic Commission, and I will get back to you.
Okay.
And Mary, just to answer your question about the sidewalks, for the upcoming special town meeting in the fall, I believe it's October 17th, whatever that Monday is, there is an article for 120K for the sidewalks for Grant Rock.
Yeah, no, and that's great, and I know you all support it, and I know we tried to do it last spring, but it just didn't work out. So we are really looking forward and hoping that it gets approved, because I think everybody would nod their head, like in a business section of Marshfield, you should have sidewalks on both sides of the street. I mean, it makes sense to me. And then the last thing that I just wanted to bring up is that we just donated three families put forward 3 benches on the green, and I want to thank Mr. Kilcoyne for joining us. It was really a nice celebration. I did get an email from you, Mr. Moresco, asking us to come in front of you because we were putting a donation of $50 or more. My response back to you was that we pay about $100 at least a month in that Esplanade, and we plan on doing a lot more infrastructure. And I did come to your meeting on January 24th. I did say that I would come back. You told me that there was no, it was very packed. I just watched your meeting on Monday night, and you ended like 15 minutes early. So I'm just wondering, can the Grant Rock Village Association come in and share our good work with you? We need about 5 or 10 minutes.
Just for clarification, no citizen comes directly before me unless they're meeting with me. If you're going before the board makes the choice of their agenda.
Okay.
And just to clarify, just so that I don't want people to have wrong information.
Correct.
Anyone that makes a $50 donation or greater, the donation has to be accepted by our town rules and regulations, by the Board of Selectmen. It's very simple. People do it up, whether you do 1,000, I do the flowers in front of Town Hall, I notify, I go before the board. You do benches, you just notify the board. I can tell you, in all the years I've been involved, for 25 years, I've never heard a board say no, they don't want to accept it.
Well, yeah, and already installed. My question, or my point to this is not necessarily that we need to come in front of you. It was more of the lack of response. I think I went to the secretary as well. I asked for a meeting. I went to you. We talked to planning. You said you were very busy. And I just watched the selectmen meeting on Marshfield Community TV, and it looked like you went in early. So I'm just wondering, can the village association come in for 5 or 10 minutes? And I guess I would ask the chair to the select board meeting at your next meeting.
Yeah, we'll put the BRVA definitely for an appointment with us. Yeah.
Sean. Great. Yes, Ms.
So my question is, again, what is the current temperature of the town, or of your opinion of going to and this is volunteer deficit aside, a 5-person select board? And I'll give you this example.
Can you restate that question for me?
The question is, what's the town's feeling? What is your feeling? What's the latest thoughts on going from 3 to 5 in the select board? In the sense that in the past we've had 1 recusal and a split decision, and I don't know how 3 would work in general given scenarios like that, which are likely to happen time and again.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if we were to change the composition of the board from 3 members to 5, that would have to be a charter change. And there was an attempt at charter change several years ago. There are more changes than just that were part of it, but it didn't pass a town meeting. But basically what you would have to do is create a charter review commission, and there are two avenues for that. The board of selectmen could appoint a charter review commission, or it could go on the ballot and the membership could be elected. And then once they make the recommendations and kind of vote and move forward on that, then those would be a series of articles at town meeting. So any changes like you're describing that we would want to make, going from 3 to 5, that would have to go through town meeting, a charter review commission. So tonight's meeting would be helpful to get a temperature check. I know it's not representative of the town as a whole, the folks who are here, but stuff like this, we want to hear what your thoughts are, because that's a really helpful temperature check to see if the time is right to take a second look at our charter and maybe make some necessary updates and changes.
Can you, since I didn't do my homework on this, tell me what the, what was the cause of it not going forward last time it was attempted?
Sure. It depends on who you talk to. Some people think that maybe it was a messaging issue or a strategic execution, or maybe it was too many changes at once. It really depends on who you talk to. I think perhaps if we were to try again, a really strong push for a public information campaign would help. But it really depends on who you talk to see why it didn't carry the day and prevail for the last episode of charter change. Do you want to add anything?
Just, the chairman's correct, if folks remember that town meeting, there was a whole bunch of wordsmithing. We spent 2.5 hours correcting grammatical corrections. People got fed up on the first night. They came back on the second night, and, people were going through some additional grammatical changes. People got fed up and said to table it, and the vote was to table it, so.
So what would it take, what's the shortest way around the barn getting it back in front of the town for reconsideration?
So it would definitely be faster for us to appoint a new charter review commission, because we could do that pretty quickly. If there was an election for a new charter review commission, we would have to wait until the next election. So the next town election is usually end of April or early May. So having us appoint a review commission would certainly be faster. And then it's a function of how many meetings does the commission have, how long do they take to deliberate, and those different factors. But probably short answer, appointing a new commission would be faster.
Which is something you would do, that would be directed by you.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, and what is your inclination to do so?
So meetings like this really drive home my perceived feeling that our citizens don't know where the buck stops, and they have a right to know that. And I think it would be more efficient for us to streamline town government, because I feel terrible when someone comes to me with an issue and I say, sorry, I don't control that department, or I have no control over those individuals. You have to talk to the X elected board. So that's something I would like to do. I'm just trying to figure out if the time is there and if the support is there from the town. But I would certainly like to streamline things so that you guys know that the buck stops with us and that we're accountable to you. And if you have an issue, that we have the power to address it. Yep, Nick.
Thank you, Paul. I just want to clarify a couple of things. Mutual aid that comes into town, that's lost revenue. The ambulance that comes into town, they get all that revenue. Since about 2007-ish, the department has run 3 ambulances. During COVID, they ran 4. Right now, they're running at 10-man minimums, which means they're on 2 ambulances. Both ambulances go out of town. That ladder truck is out of service. It's not going out on any call. We're building another 3-story, 300-unit, place in Moderna, whatever they call it now. I know they changed it to Madison. So it's essentially 4 stories because all your mechanicals are up on the roof there and everything. The department's running short. When we took over the ambulance in 2000, it was determined then that they needed 11-man shifts to run 2 ambulances. That's when they were doing somewhere around 2,400 calls, let's call it right now. They're pushing 5,000 calls right now. And doing it with less people, 10 people a shift, 2 ambulances, they should be running 3 at a minimum. And for that ladder truck to be out of service, I'm sorry, those ambulances run constantly, all the time. For that ladder truck to be out of service, is a disgrace. Those guys are running around like crazy and they're working their balls off. And there's no help. And there's no end in sight either. So I just wanted the town should be aware of it too, you know. To wait 22 minutes for an ambulance to show up is ridiculous. And there's no mutual aid going out either, by the way, because we're never here to give it. It's only coming in, so that's not mutual. That's us stealing it from another town, another taxpaying town. We're taking their ambulance out of their town. And to say that it's a hemorrhage, it's not a hemorrhage. You got two cross-trained, you got two departments in one. You got your EMS and your fire all in one department. So to say it's a hemorrhage, it's not a hemorrhage. You got 2 for 1. Because if you outsourced it, you're gonna pay for that, and then they're gonna take all that revenue too.
Sure, so I said it's not a hemorrhage, that we run it as a public service. We don't make money running the ambulance service. It's a net negative. So what I said is we structure the fees and the pricing so that we bleed, but we don't hemorrhage. We're as a public service. So I didn't use the word hemorrhage in the fact that we do that. I said we do not hemorrhage running the service. But to answer your question, and 2 other folks too, we can get you the numbers. We can get you the historical call volume, the historical staffing levels, the historical number of ambulances that we run, so we can get all that information to you guys, and we can get you the mutual aid numbers too, so.
I probably already have it, just so you know, but
We've got
I
100
just don't
mutual aid
understand it.
transports, 100 mutual aid transports since we went down to 10.
It's your first responders of this town. The residents of this town who pay taxes don't know that this is taking place. They don't know they might have to wait for an ambulance for 18 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever, when their loved one's sitting there, or themselves. They don't know that. It's outrageous. Those should be the first people that this town should be taking care of, is our first responders. They're the ones that are doing the best. They did the whole COVID thing, did the best job. We got more compliments from the state and everything else. Everybody did.
Yeah.
They did a great job, and now, boom, see you later.
Yep, no, we hear you.
You know,
we'll
and
get you
just
those
say if
numbers,
it's overtime budget or whatever it is, give them more money. Give them more money so they can staff it properly. Don't say this is your budget and this is, because I'd like to see a lot of people right nowadays live within their budget and they can't. And I'm not talking that I need more money, but their budget, if they need it to take care of the people in this town, they should get it.
Sure, and to answer the question as a whole about whether we're taking care of a fire department, we did use our federal government money that we received to buy 2 new ambulances to make sure that we had ambulances that could stay on the road. And the most recent contract that we did for public safety, police and fire was unprecedented. We gave a huge 3-year raise because we know the great work that our police and fire do, and we love them, respect them, and take care of them. So we did give them a record contract to the point where we get direct.
Contracts prior to.
Nate, we'll get to you, absolutely, but let's just be civil. I didn't interrupt you.
Am I not being civil?
Just don't interrupt me, and we'll circle back to you if you have a question or a follow-up. We gave a record contract to our police and fire. Our town administrator gets crap from other town administrators at municipal conferences for what we did, because now Marshfield is the benchmark for public safety contracts. And so the agreement that we did was, it's a deal where you get increased base salary, so you make more money, you don't have to work as much, and that counts towards your pension,
They don't have
which
to work as
overtime
much?
is not.
Did you just say they don't have to work as much?
No, we increased the base
I
salary.
thought that's what you said.
No. So we increased the base salary, right?
Mhm.
So you're making more money working the same number of regular hours, right? And so what we did was, in exchange for doing that, and that's very true because that goes towards your pension. Your overtime pay and overtime hours don't go towards your pension, your base salary does.
Right,
So
I know
we
all
said-
that.
Sure, yep, so circle back. We increased the base salaries, you're making more money at the same hours, right? So you're making more money. And the deal was, we try to manage the overtime budget for this 3-year cycle. And so to this point, the police department has managed the overtime budget and the fire department has not. And there's disagreement over what the understanding was, and that's the rub that we're experiencing right now.
Why
That's
was
what
there
the
a
deal
disagreement though? Was there a third party involved in it? Or was it just between you and the fire department, or was there somebody else involved with the contract?
So it was the board of selectmen, town administrator, the union leadership was explaining membership as well. Our labor council was there to explain the deal. And that's basically, so there are 5 different independent witnesses who can tell you that it was explained very clearly what the deal was. And there's disagreement on that front, I'll say that, but that's what the deal was. So we're almost through this cycle, you know, but that's where we stand right now. So Nate, I know you had a follow-up question or comment, so I'll pivot back to you, my friend.
You're saying it's unprecedented contract, but you look at the previous contracts, that contract just got them up to where they should have been paid and level to other surrounding departments. To say it's an unprecedented, you know, I'm sorry if we get crap for it, but it's not, it wasn't, it shouldn't affect the service that this town gets.
So, Mr. Chairman, can I jump in?
Sure.
So the goal of this evening is for us to hear you and listen to you. The goal of this evening is not to get into a debate over what one side wants or the other side wants. So we came here in good faith to listen, all right? And exactly what's happening here is exactly what I've heard coming in over the last year and a half, maybe a year and a half, regarding the contract. The contract was here before I came. The contract's the contract. We expect everyone to live within a budget. I have to live within mine. You have to live within what you make. We have X amount of money. We have to respect the citizens of this town have X amount of money that they can pay in taxes. We can only tax so much, correct, Michael?
That is correct.
And there's only a few ways you can.
2.5%.
There's a 2.5, that's 2.5. So what we're talking about is how we cut up the pie in the town. And we came out to listen to the citizens of how they want to cut up the pie. But just so you know, the pie does not get bigger. So I have heard you, and I don't think it serves really anymore. You've had a chance now to have it aired out here, to make other citizens aware of it. Trust me, we are very much aware of it. We have a contract coming up. From my perspective, I'm aware of the macro demographics of the town. This town right now is going through an aging cycle, so the demand will be here. Lots of times you're always playing a catch-up game. So as far as I'm concerned, I have heard you, and to me this is just more back and forth than a constructive conversation. I'll go back to the chair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was just voicing my concern, I'm not
Of course.
saying anything, okay? I was just voicing my concern, and to say that I'm not fighting with you, I'm just,
No.
this is my concern of the town as a citizen who pays taxes.
Yeah,
So,
That's why we
my other thing was, if the revenue that comes in from the ambulance, 1.3 million, whatever it was, why can't the percentage of that stay with the fire department?
Because under,
Other towns do it.
that's not true. Well, I don't know, I'm not gonna speak, I'm not gonna debate you, but
No, I'm just
that's
saying other
not,
towns do it.
all revenues derived go to build the budget for the following year.
Right.
So
they go to the
revenue that's
general
coming
fund.
in fiscal '23, because that's what we're in right now. That then goes to the general fund, and that's what we build the FY '24 budget.
Right, no, I get that, but what I'm saying, why can't a portion instead of, why can't a portion of that, and that's what I'm saying,
It's
you
not-
put
I'm not
an
gonna get into a debate, but if they wanted to have a private ambulance company, that's how an ambulance company works. We're a municipality, revenues come in, budgets are set for departments, the pie, as Mr. Kilcoyne mentioned, is divvied up to the departments, and that's how we do business here.
Sure, and just to kind of cap on that too, I mean, we run it as a public service, and just so folks know, if we do an ambulance ride, if it's Medicare, we lose money on the ride. If it's private insurance, we make money on the ride. And we know that
And if we
Marshfield,
don't transport, we don't make money on the ride, correct?
It's-
If we don't
We lose
transport,
money.
if another town transports, they get the money, we don't.
But we lose money on every road.
right, the
Because that's what I'm
largest,
saying, but.
yeah, so we can't talk over each other, so just the point I'm
Mhm.
driving towards is that
Right.
overall, given the demographics of the town, we have an older aging population. The majority of those rides are Medicare, so while the revenue, there's gross and there's net, right? So the revenue would go up if we do more rides, right, and transports, but overall, we're losing money running that public service.
The long and the short of it is, the demographics of the town as we're getting older, the demand for this service will go up. And, you know, we have X amount of money that comes in, and we're trying to figure out now, right, Mike, and there's no crystal ball,
That's correct.
what we're gonna spend for every department next year, right? And so you can't plan in advance, but we know from a macroeconomic perspective that this demand is going to go up. We are not unaware of that. What we currently have is a contract. And that means both sides agreed and signed the contract. So we're not changing the contract. There's a new contract that comes up, I believe it is, Michael,
We'll start in
April or something like
January,
that?
we'll start
Start in
January to negotiate.
Right. So I have an expectation whenever I do a contract with anybody, that they live up to their word, and even if it's just their word and not a signature.
I agree with you.
So we have one right
I
now.
never said that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, we have one right now, so that's I think, that's my perspective as an elected member of the board. And we'll look at all these things, and I really thank you all for coming and bringing this up to us. It helps us understand what the citizens of the town want us to prioritize on.
Right, I mean, like,
Right, 'cause
did
we're
your
gonna have to
budget
take it from
go out of
something
whack
else.
because of extra people? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they now have a consultant, or they have this, or whatever, did it go out of whack because of that?
So I would
No.
It didn't.
No, so the vaccination clinic that we ran, and then at the fairgrounds, and then also at town hall, what is it? So let's say the cost of each shot is $24, and we get reimbursed either by the feds or the private insurance, we get $40, right? So we make $16 on each shot. That's the money that we're using to pay for the town's consultant. So that's such a drop on the bucket compared to the cost. It's a function of overtime, right? 11, 10, 2, 3, it's all about the overtime budget, right? So we had an agreement from police and fire that we would manage the overtime budget and increase in exchange for the increase over 3 years. Now, I can't speak to what previous boards did, but I think our board at the time, over the course of 3 years, put our money where our mouth was, and we supported our public safety officials. So to this point, police has managed their overtime budget, and fire, that's where the pension is right now. And again, it's a function of overtime. But no, so the consultant is not in any way impacting that, to address your concern.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Mr. Lynch.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So, this is all I came here for, collective bargaining and something should be going on in town meeting. And, you left out new growth going away. 2.5%, plus we have new growth, and we have lots of new growth in this added to the budget. But anyway, we'll go get into this thing. I'm here because we need to have strict enforcement of the speed limit on my street, and all the streets are parallel to beaches in this town. In Duxbury, after the woman in the flag got killed a couple years ago, they laid down the law over there. All the streets are parallel beaches, 20 miles an hour. And just like we have at the library in Marshfield Center, I think that my street is a specific, very special street that has hundreds of people that walk by my house every day in that little strip. They're going down to the town pier, and that's the new walkway for everyone, senior citizens, mothers with their new children, pushing them in carriages, walking dogs, and it's a racetrack out there, and we can't expect the Marshfield police to spend 18 hours a day down there enforcing the speed limit. That's just BS. There's way too much going on in this town for that. I need speed bumps on my street. That's what I would like to see in the summer. Not gigantic ones that, like they have at the Rockland Federal Credit Union, you have to go 1 mile an hour or what, but ones, smaller ones that will slow people down, that are out of control, And then that's my first suggestion for safety. My second one is the Esplanade in Red Rock. Those restaurants down there should have on-site parking. It's a disaster. Just coming here, this car's parked on both sides of the street. When I came up through the Esplanade by Eric's house and then all the way to the end up by the Marine. This car's parked on both sides of the street on the sidewalk. It's ridiculous. These people should have on-site parking on their restaurant. And if they don't, then reduce the number of people that can go in the building. It's out of control down there. It's just the Wild West.
So to kind of characterize your concern, Steve, you're inquiring about speed bumps on, you said Central Street?
Correct.
And then also the availability of parking in Brand Rock?
Where people are parking in Esplanade, where you drive, where people, so that people are walking in the street, cars blocking moving on both sides. You can't see them coming out because they're coming between cars that are parked all on the street, And while I'm at it, one more thing I'd like to suggest.
Yeah.
The walking areas, you know, the crosswalks that you have at the end of the town pier road at the bridge, right at the bridge before you get to the park,
Yes.
out of the park. So when you're coming over that bridge, right, I'm getting a little older, so my vision isn't very good peripherally, you know, I'm pretty much straight ahead. But that crosswalk you have immediately after the bridge heading north, that should be closed down. You should put a rock there, get rid of that crosswalk. Someone's gonna get killed walking over there. You can't see them when they're coming out there. And the other one is fine, because it's a walking straightaway. And then further down the street, the crosswalk that goes to the walkway to the Esplanade, it's on a blind curve. I mean, why would you put a crosswalk on a blind curve? You come around the corner, you know, everybody does 30 in that road. I know we have speed limit signs that say 20, but no one believes that they all go 30.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have no problem with 30, I guess, but that's why I asked Phil to put up the signs that say 20, because we were trying to get them to 30 instead of 40. But, you know, it's a dangerous area down there. There's a lot of traffic and a lot of kids and a lot of older citizens walking. We really need to slow things down there. And I think a couple of small speed bumps would do it. And if you close up that crosswalk, it would really be a good idea.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just one of them. You leave, the other one's fine, but the one immediately at the bridge is dangerous.
Got it. Thank you, Steve.
And I try to do 25 on that street, and you know, I sometimes have to slam on the brakes for people that just see the last minute getting in the crosswalk.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, I think we just went through this, with a citizen petition come in front of us for similar things. Different place, but close. And we made recommendations. So everyone understands again, we're here to listen to you, but we are one elected board. And a lot of the things, actually, the list that I have here, the preponderance of the list that you spoke about to us this evening is not under our elected control. But I think it was important that we come here and that we listen, because we have an understanding of what is important. I think we would all welcome, you know, if you want to come in and give us a couple minutes to make it more visible to the citizens of town, although I don't know how many people actually watch our meetings, but if that can give more visibility to what you're speaking about, I think we would be very supportive. This is a major problem across town that, from my perspective, I don't know, it was COVID and everyone's driving like crazy everywhere. You know, and you look at these beaches, there's little kids playing ball, there's kids running out, there's people walking, there's elderly people like myself, I'm not that young anymore, they can't move that fast, can't see as well peripherally. So I totally understand what you're saying. And, you know, there are some things you can and cannot do. We specifically spoke about speed, right, Steve?
Yep.
And there are state laws regarding speed, and I won't get into it now, but and there's pros and cons to it. I would recommend anyone that's passionate about this issue to watch our last meeting of the chief of police and the board discuss some of these similar things in a different part of town. But I would welcome it as well stated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you.
All right, does anyone have any questions or concerns that haven't come up yet or something? Yes.
I do. The airport, is there a specific time when the planes can fly in and fly out? Especially the larger planes that are now flying in and out of there. There was one that went over the house, again, I'm on Billings. There was one that went over the house the other night at 11:20, a jet. The whole house shut.
Yeah, we could find out for you.
My instinct with that might be a federal issue, but that's one of the things we'll find out when we get back to you, so that's a
But
great
is the
question.
airport closed at a certain time and open at a certain time?
No, unfortunately, the airport is open
24/7.
24/7, and those late night flights, a majority of them, I'm not gonna say all, but a majority, they work with a lot of surrounding cities and towns to airlift people to hospitals.
That's a great question, we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Of course.
We're losing our audience, Steve.
Excuse me, ma'am, could we just get your name again, just a little louder?
Ellen Quinn, 18 Billings Road.
18 Billings. Great, thank you so much. Any other questions?
Well, thank you all for coming out tonight and bearing the heat and humidity. We appreciate it, and I think this went well, and so I'd love to do more in the future, and maybe we can expand the number of boards that are available too, so that would be good.
Yeah, I agree with the chair. I believe that local, visible, responsive government is best government. And so I think it's important that we come out. I know the chair's been a big supporter of that, as well as the town administrator. Maybe we're overdoing in conducting this, but I definitely would like to do this again, move to different parts of town, get different feels from different parts of the town. I'd love to have, invite the different boards, because we just can't answer all those questions and we don't have the authority to really comment on all of those. We can influence, but we can't do the outcomes. So that's kind of my comment. I really appreciate you coming out. And from my perspective, this was a success because I learned a lot. And that's why I came.
Great, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Be safe.
You know what?